Your Excellency, the Ambassador to China, Your Excellency, former Minister for Education, the CEO for Hormuz, and I don't see the previous speaker, the Vice Chair of the Chamber of Commerce, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Subawa Naksan. Real? Salam alaikum. Before I go into details of the remarks I was asked to make today, I'd just like to make some preliminary comments. The first is the fact that Somali is very special to me personally. Over 20 years ago, the elders in Somaliland gave me the name Jasmine. And to show you how special Somalia is to me, today is a very big day for my country, Kenya. You're all aware of what's happening in Kenya, right? But when I got the invitation to the STEM conference, I made a decision to stay in Somalia and attend this conference as opposed to going back to Kenya, which is just next door, to exercise my civic rights. That shows you how dear Somalia is to me, but also how close to my heart the subject of the conference today is. The second preliminary thing that I'd like to say is that I'm a teacher by profession, so we share a lot with you, Your Excellency. And for us, as we were being trained, he can confirm, we were told that we ask questions and the others give answers. So I'll start by asking a few questions. Is that agreeable to you all? Okay. Simple questions first. How many sustainable development goals do we have? I hear 17. Okay, let's clap for him. Well done. What are the 3 dimensions of sustainable development? We are getting tougher and tougher, okay? What are the 3 dimensions of sustainable development? She says education, health, and economic development. Very close. Let's clap for her. Very close. Yes, you want to say something? Pardon? If somebody can help me, or you can speak up, please. Infrastructure. Very close. There are 3. Yes, at the back. Yes, please. Speaker. 3. Beautiful. Excellent. I have one more question. If those are the 3 dimensions of sustainable development, what are the 3 principles of sustainable development? What are the 3 principles of sustainable development? You can try. We clap for even those who try. Come on, the 3 principles. She almost alluded to them, but indirectly. At the back, you want to say something? Those were the dimensions. They've already been mentioned. I'm asking about the principles. Yes, please. Sorry? Profit.
Profit, people and planet.
Let's clap for him, but He's brought in a different aspect of the SDGs, which is what we refer to as the 5 Ps. He has mentioned 2 of the 5 Ps, but I'll come back to you on that one. Yes, please, the final comment. Agriculture? No. We are talking about principles. Oh yeah, I see a lady, I cannot say no. Pardon?
Freedom, security, and peace.
Freedom, security, and peace. Let's clap for her. She's brought in the 3rd P to add on to the planet and the people. But just in the interest of time, sorry gentlemen, can I? Okay, my colleague in teaching tells me I give you the chance.
Economic, human, and environment.
Economic, human, and development. All the points that you have raised are aspects of sustainable development. But when we talk about the principles of sustainable development, we are referring to 1, the indivisibility nature of the goals. We are referring to the universality of the goals. In other words, the SDGs apply to everybody, everywhere. Whether south, in other words, the developing countries, or north, the developed countries. The other principle is sustainability. So in my remarks, I was asked to speak about the progress that Somalia has made in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals and how STEM can play an instrumental role in accelerating Sustainable Development Goals. So in my remarks, I'll try and situate the progress that I see Somalia has made in the 3 dimensions of sustainable development that the gentleman there mentioned: social, economic, and environmental. I'll also refer to some of the challenges which I believe are facing Somalia, or Somalia as a country is facing in achieving the sustainable development goals. And this will be situated within the 3 principles of universality, of indivisibility, and of sustainability. For the first time ever, through the support of UNDP and under the leadership of the Somalia National Bureau of Statistics, Somalia as a country undertook what we call voluntary national review to assess the progress that as a country you're making towards achieving the SDGs. Allow me just to highlight some of the progress that that report captured. 1, there are fewer Somali children who are malnourished. So there's been an improvement in malnourishment for the number of children. And please note my words, fewer. Mortality rates have declined, not eliminated, declined. Women's literacy has improved. And there has been significant progress in the use of safe drinking water as well as use of sanitation services. One of the areas that we heard about here this morning is on information, communication, and technology. And really Somalia has made great strides, what we'd actually call leaps in this particular area. In this area, it's the fastest growing sector in Somalia and the 3rd largest industry in terms of employment creation. So congratulations to Homewood and other service providers in this particular area. Because of that significant leap in the information, communication, and technology area, use of cellular phones in Somalia has increased significantly. Allow me just to give you some statistics. Between 2010 and 2020, the use of cellular phones, or the subscriptions to cellular phones, increased from 5% in 2020 to 56% in 5% in 2010 to 56% in 2020. So within a span of 10 years, you can see the tremendous growth in that particular area. And that's the point at which you clap for yourselves because of the great progress you've made. Internet users between 2021 and 2022 increased by 16.4%. Use of social media increased by 9.9%. Use of mobile phones, the other one that I talked about was the connectivity. Use of mobile phones between 2021 and 2022, increased by 5.1%. And at least 46.2% of the population in Somalia have access to mobile phones. I'm just laying this context so that you see how ICT can be a very good accelerator for us in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals in Somalia. Remember what I mentioned earlier, mark my words, improved, declined, grown. Despite this great growth that we have seen in the different areas I've mentioned, education, health, ICT, the quality of services in those particular areas is still wanting. But there are also other areas that really we haven't made progress as a country, and I'll just mention some of these. 7 out of 10 Somalis live below the poverty line. I'll repeat that again. 7 out of 10 Somalis live below the poverty line. 7 out of 10. 79% of the adult population in Somalia experiences what we define as moderate to severe food insecurity. Climate change, of course, as we are all aware, is a significant contributor to these aspects that I've just talked about. And because of climate change, as well as other challenges that Somalia faces, whether insecurity or otherwise, more than 17% of Somalis have been displaced from their homes or their communities. 53% of Somali children, just slightly over half, only slightly over half, attend school. Where are the other children? What is their future? How can they work towards achieving the SDGs? If we are leaving such a significant population of our country behind, are we certain to achieve the SDGs by 2030? Is there something we can do differently? So let me take a step back. I've talked about the progress, and you will notice that the examples I gave on progress are more on the social dimensions of the SDGs. I've also talked about some of the challenges, and you may have noticed that the challenges or lack of progress is mainly in the economic as well as the environmental aspects of the SDGs. But I mentioned that one of the key principles of the SDGs is the indivisibility. That if we make progress on the social aspects, no progress on economic, on environmental, we will not achieve the SDGs in Somalia. Therefore, we need to accelerate our efforts in the economic as well as the environmental aspects, and still ensure that the gains we have made in the social dimensions of the SDGs is not lost. Instead, we should accelerate the progress in that area as well, the indivisibility of the SDGs. I'd also like to submit that apart from the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of SDGs, Somalia isn't doing as well in the political aspects. You may know, for instance, the issues around SDG 16 and 17, and the progress in that particular aspect is not as great as we see them in the social sector, and even not as minimal as we see them in the economic aspect. So once again, I go back to the issue of indivisibility. political, economic, social. Unless we take them all together, we will not attain the nationally set goals that we as Somalia have given ourselves to achieve. That's a challenge I'd just like to postulate to you. Having said that, what then can we do as a country to try and accelerate our efforts and to make sure that the indivisibility is carried across? I'd like to mention about 5 points which, in my opinion, are really key for us to move forward. First and foremost is creating an enabling environment that will allow for the different dimensions of the SDGs, for the different principles of the SDGs to be moved forward in an appropriate way. The second submission I'd like to make is related to the first one. When we have a conducive environment, then private-public partnerships will thrive. So the second aspect is appropriate partnerships with the private sector, with the civil society, with the other development partners, with the communities more importantly, because that is where the benefits of the SDGs are supposed to be realized. So building strong partnerships that will only be facilitated by an enabling environment. What would then happen once we have that enabling environment and the appropriate partnerships by different categories of partners? We are likely to promote innovation, the same thing that we've been talking about here all along. The private sector, given their strengths, will definitely thrive to promote the innovations, to create employment. And once that employment is generated, people can then use the resources they get from there to attain the other aspects of the SDGs. So the third point that I would like to talk about is innovation, experimentation, and an acknowledgement that experimentation can actually fail. So when you fail, do not stay on the ground. Get up, dust yourself, and move on. Innovation and experimentation. The fourth thing that I think would be very helpful is in terms of diversification. Diversifying our whether economic aspects so that we go beyond over-reliance on environments that we are very blessed with as a country, but diversify even our sources of energy. We are blessed with a lot of sunshine. Can we move towards renewable solar energy, for instance, to propel our industry, to propel our economic growth? Can we diversify the different economic or even employment creation opportunities to go beyond the traditional? And you see, therefore, the role of STEM in that diversification. It is only through the different aspects of STEM and through innovation and experimentation that I talked about that we can actually diversify. The final point that I would like to mention here is that we will not achieve the SDGs in Somalia if we do not focus on the people. I think somebody here talked about people as well as the back. All our efforts in innovation, in public-private sector partnership, the job creation and all that should be focused on our people, on the youth, which forms a great part of the population in this country, on the women who should not be left behind. And together, I'm sure we can achieve the SDGs in Somalia. Thank you.